Here's the thing. Markets are chaos. And the one thing I know for sure, I'm probably wrong about a lot of this. I'm in the arena every day, staying alive and learning in real time, just like you. I'm Stowe, and this is Patterns and Static. All right, welcome to episode 3 of Patterns and Static. I'm Stowe. Thank you for listening, as always. First off, again, the response is really great. Substack's growing, podcast is growing. Really means a lot to me that after a couple months of me not really being around and talking into a microphone, that, you folks are still there. And I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about today, and then something happened over the weekend, and I decided to just completely throw everything I was going to do out the window and talk about something that maybe not a lot of people outside of the Pittsburgh area are aware of, a person that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of. And this episode is going to be about the underdog in all of us. And I'm going to talk about somebody that has inspired me my entire life, way before I was trading. And hopefully you can see some similar inspiration in this person's story. And I'm going to talk about how this has helped frame my mindset to weather, extremely dry periods in trading, drawdowns, times of mental uncertainty, times of financial uncertainty, times of just uncertainty in my life in general, when results are not necessarily stacking up to effort, right? And what we do, I don't know if we just do this a lot in trading or if we do this a lot as society, but we tend to be really results-driven people. If we're not seeing X, we start to question the effort that we're putting into something. Is it good enough? Am I good enough? Is this enough? And that, coupled with the desire to compare ourselves to others, it can create a perfect storm that can plant a seed of doubt. And it doesn't take a lot for a seed of doubt to grow once it's in there. It doesn't need a lot of water. It doesn't need a lot of anything. Once it's in there, even in the tiniest crack, that seed of doubt can blossom and it can start to take you off track. Not just in trading, but in life. It can derail everything, honestly. And so I want to talk about a man named Bill Mazeroski. Now, Bill Mazeroski, his origin story is insane. All right, so I'm going to go through. I made some notes just so I'm covering this correctly. And so I'm going to read a little bit of it, but I want to make sure you see his stats. I want to make sure you see everything about this dude, just so you can get the backstory that I know, and you can start to compare it to where you've come from, where you're at now, where you're trying to go. Because I think one thing in common for all of us that are trying to actively pursue trading as a career or any sort of career in the markets is we see the unlimited potential of this career. And then we also see our own unlimited potential, right? Like, you must know deep down that you have unlimited potential too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to do this. And I truly believe that every human being has unlimited potential. Some people never try to tap into theirs. Some people never have the opportunity to tap into theirs. Some people try their whole lives and never pull it off. Like, that's also a possibility. Failure is ultimately a possibility around every turn in life and in trading. But I think that anybody can do anything. I truly believe that. And this is a story about somebody who did the most amazing thing maybe in sports history. I really like baseball, so that's just my opinion. But let's talk a little bit about Bill Mazeroski. Okay. Bill Mazeroski was born in 1936 in Wheeling, West Virginia. Now, if you're not from my area, that is coal country. He was born in a one-room house, no electricity, no plumbing, and this place was called Skunk Hollow. Now, if you've ever been, if you've ever had a hometown name that you were like, ugh, boy, this is a rough place to come from. Imagine coming from Skunk Hollow. All right. So his dad was a baseball player. So this is where he got it from. His dad was a prospect for the Indians, I believe, and he was good enough to try out, but a coal mine accident severed this dude's foot. So his dad gets his foot cut off and loses his baseball dream, right? But he's got his son, Bill. Bill did great in high school. He was signed by the Pirates when he was only 17 years old. He was originally a shortstop, but he moved over to second base, and this is what he's most well known for. And I'm doing some hometown stuff right now, but Bill Mazeroski's up there with top 5 defensive second baseman of all time. Now we'll get into how this applies later, but keep this in the back of your mind that all of his teammates from that era. You go back through interviews, even most recently, you can find a lot of them. It appeared to them as though the ball never touched Maz on the turn. When the ball was coming from shortstop on its way to first base, Maz's transitions were so fluid that it was like it was invisible. You couldn't see the ball go in his glove and out with his hands. So Bill's dad had a dream to be a ball player. He had to live a life where he had to work in a dangerous situation, and that cost him his dream. But think about the idea of maybe our dreams change over time, right? Like the greatness that Bill's dad saw for himself eventually got transferred. And I think that it is a much better way to walk around the world thinking that like greatness is possible. I'm not necessarily the vehicle for that greatness though, right? Like what if I get to say something to someone and that person goes on to be great? And I think about the way that I connect with so many people on the internet, so many people on the Ninja Trader live show. Like I have the opportunity to interact with a ton of people, and that's a gift. Not normal people don't get to talk to hundreds of strangers on the internet every day. And even in your daily life walking around, I think about this. So as an aside, like it's good to be nice. It's good to share the human experience with other people because you never know who is going to go on to do something because you positively affected them in some way. So I kind of always try to walk around my life like that. And this is, it's definitely something that occurs to me more now that I'm a dad is, this ain't all about me. Hardly any of it is really. In the grand scheme of things, I'm just a very tiny dot of existence. But I do have the ability to affect the universe, and the more people that I talk to and the more people I interact with and the more open-minded I am and the more willing I am to have interesting conversations and see other people's points of view, the better off the universe is going to be because a few humans stop to have a shared moment like that. And I think knowing that Bill Mazeroski's dad lost his dream to a hardcore work-related accident, like that's crazy. But that shit happened all the time. Like think about what it used to be like to live in America. Like they didn't have TikTok. They got their feet cut off in coal mining accidents because they had to make money to buy food. And so I think that that's also a cool part about this story is to be like, man, we got it pretty good. I got space lights and stuff. They didn't have a camera and space lights. Okay, so let's talk about the moment. So Maz starts as the Pittsburgh Pirates second baseman when he's 20 years old, right? Now, we get to 1960. The Pirates are going up against the Yankees in the World Series. Now, the Pirates haven't been in the World Series since 1927 when the Yankees swept them. Now, to get swept in the World Series, that's pretty hardcore. And also, in the context of this story, remember, the NFL doesn't exist. The sport in America is baseball. So, like, this is the biggest stage for sports that exists, is the World Series of baseball in 1960. Now, this is a Yankees team that has Mantle, Maris, and Whitey Ford. So this is the Yankees. This is the stacked Yankees. I mean, they're always stacked, but like we're talking Mickey Mantle stacked. The Pirates, we had Clemente, but that's it. That's all we had. And a bunch of people nobody knew about. Now, Maz's batting average is 273, and he's batting 8th in the lineup. For those of you who don't know about baseball, 273, it's not good. It's not bad, but it's not good. Batting 8th in the lineup is also not necessarily the position of strength in your lineup. You put people that are primarily defensive players towards the end of the lineup because those people, chronologically, they're going to get a few less at-bats per game typically. So you want them to have the fewest at-bats. So Maz is batting 8th. The Yankees have been rolling this World Series score-wise. The Yankees had outscored the Pirates in this series 55-27. In the 3 games the Yankees won, they outscored Pittsburgh 38-3. So the Yankees are stomping on the Pirates in the games that they are winning. But, the Pirates are winning the close games. And there's a lesson in there too. You can get beat to smithereens some days and still be alive to win the next day. You're not out of it. And I think that's a big trading thing too. Like if you hit your DLL in 5 minutes, I have done that 1,000 times. There has been, Lord, when I would say it was probably when I was like a couple years ago. I've done it recently though too. You hit your DLL because you're ready to go and you think you know more than the market knows. You hit your DLL in 5 minutes and you're dusted for the day. You got 9:35 in the morning to 4 p.m. Eastern time left of the trading day, and you can't touch it because you have gotten smoked so bad in the first 5 minutes. Now, you got smoked because you oversized, you didn't trade your plan. Doesn't matter. Either way, you took yourself out of the game that day. But you used a daily loss limit. That means that you didn't wipe your life out. You get to play again tomorrow. And that's the same way. There was another Pirates manager used to have a great thing. He would say, it's important to shower well. And it sounds a little weird, but what he meant by that is it's important after the game, take a shower, and on to the next. You're on to the next day. You've already built the things into your system, like a daily loss limit, to make sure that you stay alive long enough to see the next trading day. And that's the most important part of this because it takes years to figure it out. And also, nobody ever figures it out. There's nobody that just has a winning system and then all of a sudden they're like, this is sick. Miami, apartments, Ferraris, clubs. I don't know. I always thought it was weird to go to a club because I see the bottle service and it's like sparklers and shit. That's never appealed to me, but that's something you can do if you, that's what TikTok tells us, you're going to make it to the point where you get to go to clubs and you got sick watches and you've got all these, earthly things. But I don't necessarily know if that's true. I think this is a constantly evolving game of making sure that you don't blow up and taking as much out of this thing as you can in the times that you get your fat pitch. So we'll get away from the trading analogy again for a second. We'll go back to Game 7 of the World Series. All right, so we've already established that the Pirates we're winning our games, the close ones. But the Yankees, Mantle, Maris, scoring machines when they're up there. All right, so we get to game 7. The score is tied 9-9. It's a crazy wild game. Score goes back and forth all day. Maz leads off the inning. Ralph Terry's the pitcher. First pitch, fastball, high, ball 1. Maz is waiting for his pitch. I mean, he's batting 273. He's not doing terrible. All right, so this is where it gets cool. Ralph Terry takes a conference with his pitcher. After this first pitch, fastball high. Goes back to the mound. Pitches the next pitch, pitch 2. And Maz called this the slider that didn't slide. That's what Maz had always said this was. Maz cranks this ball over the left field wall at Forbes Field and walks off the World Series for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the bottom of the 9th inning. Insanity. Forbes Field erupts. The whole city goes crazy. And this used to be, the baseball stadium used to be in the middle of Oakland, which is that's where Pitt University is. It used to be right in the middle of everything. Maz starts running the bases, and the crowd is coming out. And you can look up pictures of this, Maz getting mobbed. And it's just like all of Pittsburgh is going onto the field, grabbing him as he's rounding the bases. It's pandemonium. It's insane. And this is a big deal for Pittsburgh because, I mean, we're a pretty small market team. We haven't won that many World Series, let alone gotten to the big dance, you know? So this is a huge, huge deal. All because someone who had sat and been disciplined his entire life grinded out a 271. I think his career batting average was 260. Grinded out a career batting average of 260 and waited for the slider that didn't slide. It's insane. So let's get into the home run was great. That's what made Maz famous. But what made him great was his 17 years as a Pirate defensively. Arguably the best defensive second baseman of all time. There's lots of quotes about this dude. Let me get some. Bill Vernon said, "I backed him up for 10 years and never got a ball." That's hilarious. His nickname was No Hands because the ball never touched his glove. That's so sick. And in his own words, he said, over 17 years, saving thousands of runs is like driving in thousands of runs. It's the same thing. And that's true. And the thing that nobody really celebrates is defense. Nobody takes a screenshot of their daily loss limit. Nobody takes a screenshot of the trade they didn't take because their setup wasn't there. You know, it's not something that we talk about, but that's what keeps you alive. That's what keeps you in the game to keep playing so that you can have your moment of greatness or so that you can provide it for somebody else. You know, I guess that doesn't necessarily apply directly for trading, but this isn't just about trading. This is about staying in the game, staying in your process, being humble, being a good person, being, trying to be a better person all the time. And when you do that, it's not always going to be celebrated, but you do have the opportunity to make the world a better place. I don't know. I didn't plan to get on such a crazy soapbox like this about that, but I guess I'm passionate about that part because I really think that. I really believe that. Honestly, that's the difference between a career and a blow up. If you spend 17 years focused on defense, focused on perfecting your defense, the offense is going to be there when it's there. You're going to have your opportunities. You're going to miss some of them. You're going to get some of them. They're going to be good. They're going to be fine. You don't need to manufacture opportunities. You need to protect yourself against catastrophe because this is a game or career. Some people don't like the game part. So this is a job of limitless upside and limitless downside. And we've already discussed a little bit. I think I talked about it in one of the Substacks, how that's kind of a hard pill to swallow. That's even hard for somebody to compute that, that's not really how humans work. We don't really deal well with that kind of scenario. Most of our lives have limits, like we have to sleep at some point. You can't just stay awake forever. You have to eat food. You can't just eat food constantly. Like our lives have limits. Humans have limits built into them. And so when you put a human being into a limitless environment, it can kind of mess with your brain. And it does. It definitely does. So I think a healthy takeaway from Maz's story is if you're in your process and you're focused on defense, you're focused on perfecting the thing that keeps you safe as opposed to perfecting the thing that has limitless upside and limitless downside, you probably have a better chance of making a career as opposed to, either making it huge or blowing up. And not to say that and I also want to make sure that everybody knows I have made huge trading mistakes. I have lost a ton of money. I've lost a ton of accounts. I've also made a lot of money, and I've made a lot of prop firm money too. And I have kept more than I have lost in this game while I've been figuring it out. I'm very blessed to have had that happen to me because, a lot of this is, chance and luck are involved too. So I don't want it to seem like I'm coming from a place of I know about this already. I talk into this microphone a lot for me too. These are the things that I need to work on. These are the things that I need to think about every day when I sit down and do my prep work. This Substack, this podcast, it helps me just as much as I'm sure it helps me more than it helps you. I'm almost positive that it does because this helps me stay in my process. This helps me say out loud the things that I need to work on and be focused on. Okay, so the last part I want to talk about is the Hall of Fame, right? So Bill Mazeroski hit arguably the most famous home run in baseball history. Probably. I'm going to say 100%. As a Pirates fan, I'm allowed to say that. 100%, Maz hit the most famous home run in baseball history. But when he became eligible for the Hall of Fame in 1978, nobody votes for him. Almost nobody. So he sits on the ballot for 15 years, never cracks 50% of the voting because the writers couldn't see past his career average of 260, which, back then, baseball was all about offense. Baseball was all about recognizing, Babe Ruth, Mantle, Gehrig. This is all about batting averages. The Veterans Committee finally elects him in 2001. And in the induction speech, this is where it gets cool. He gets to the podium, he thanks the committee for recognizing a defensive player, and he breaks down crying. Maz is crying because he finally got into the Hall of Fame for being a defensive player, because that has never been a reason to vote anybody in. He can't finish. He apologizes. He sits down. Every Hall of Famer stands, gives him a standing ovation. It's insane, right? 1 year later, in 2002, Ozzie Smith is elected on first ballot. Now, this becomes the first defensive player to ever get that kind of support from the writers out the gate. So not only did Maz spend 17 years grinding out his process, doing his thing, he eventually got it to the point where he was able to show other people the importance of that greatness. And that allowed them to see it in others. Ozzie directly credits Maz, and he quoted as saying, "Bill and myself are the guys leading the way to remind people how important that aspect of the game always has been and always will be." So Ozzie Smith, given props. So Maz's election, they come up with different metrics now: wins after replacement, total zone runs. These are all of modern sabermetrics that were grown out of this idea of how do we quantify truly defensive excellence, right? And the funny thing is so Maz swings the bat that day. It's a slider that doesn't slide, right? And when he's in that moment, I imagine he's not thinking to himself, I'm about to change baseball. I'm about to change my entire life, the entire life of everybody that's watching this game, the entire life of every kid that's going to grow up hearing about this moment, that's going to go to the ball field and see Maz's statue and hold up their hand. He's not thinking about that. Maz is just doing his job. He's looking for his pitch. He's looking for a slider that didn't slide. And a slider that doesn't slide, by the way, is a big, fat pitch. It's coming right down the plate, and you can throw your whole thing at it. And that's all he was doing. He was just doing his job. He was just doing his thing. He was just on his grind. He was just in his process. That's the beautiful part, is he wasn't trying to do anything except his process. And the outcome, totally out of his control, ends up being superhuman, legendary. And now I'm talking about him on a trading podcast. He was just some dude whose dad got his foot cut off in a coal mining accident. I mean, it's not funny, but like, that's insane, right? Think about where that guy came from. Think about where he got to. Think about the impact that he's had on people. It's pretty cool. And I think that that's the kind of impact that anybody can have on anybody. If you're trying to live your life right. And it's not perfect. It's not a perfect process, of course. But like, making that effort all the time, you stack up a bunch of effort in a row, something good's going to happen. There's no way around it. So that's the story of Bill Mazeroski, or at least my version of the story, or the parts that I think about when I think about him and when I'm being inspired by him. I hope you get something out of that. I hope that you can find in there your own path to greatness. And it's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be cool. Nobody's path to greatness is cool, but it's kind of magical when you think about it, that like, we all have the possibility to be great. We are all underdogs, especially in this game, especially in this career. We are all underdogs. You don't work at Jane Street, neither do I. I mean, I'm just a guy, but like, I know I have a chance. So celebrate your process. Celebrate the trades you don't take. Celebrate the days that you hit your DLL. That's good. That's good. You're trying. You're setting yourself up for success because you're staying in the game. And that's all you can really do, man. That's all you can do. So, yeah. Thanks for listening. Catch me on NT Live. I'm on midweeks all week, but come and hang with all of us. And yeah, I'll see you next week.